Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Mary and this is Making is the Point. It's a mostly knitting podcast, but there's also spinning and sewing, and I have a brand new hobby as of yesterday. Like, subscribe, all that. I have been kind of on like a maybe every 3 weeks type of calendar with this. Hope to keep that up. It keeps me motivated to do stuff and follow along. And I watch so many knitting podcasts. So I figured, I'll just make my own. Um, and I would have to say, the other night I was out with some friends and a very kind, talented friend. We were talking about this. And at first, when I came up with the name Making is the Point, I was like, is that obnoxious? Like, there's more than one point. I don't have the only point. But she is a comedian and was talking about how she really likes it. And she was thinking about it when she was putting together a set of comedy. And, you get in your head about stuff. And she hadn't performed in a while. So the thought that, like, well, this creation is the whole point of it. And if you, that's the point, to enjoy that whole process. And we have a short life. And what's the worst that's going to happen? So anyway, she's talented and she kicked ass and got invited back to perform. So that all worked out. Anyway, welcome. Today I am wearing a recent FO. This is the Prospect Tee by Tori Yu. It's my first Tori Yu pattern and I really liked it. It's just easy to follow. The font was nice, a nice white space. I really like that. It's just the directions were just enough. Not too chatty, but definitely clear. I use Santa's Garden Lina in Matcha, which I was thinking today is sort of a trendy color because it is kind of like White House reflecting pool algae, which is on trend, and I love it. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, you see, this is super drapey. Plant-based fibers are not my super favorite, but this was nice to knit with. It's pretty thick. Can be splitty, but linen yarn will just be splitty. But it's really comfy to wear. I'm also wearing what you can't really probably see, but these are Lander shorts, True Bias Lander. I made a pair of pants in this several years ago, and then I've made 2 pairs of shorts. I love that pattern, and it's just, I wear them all the time, the pants and the shorts. So made these out of denim. Recommend. All right. So other finished objects. I have a couple. I've been productive these days. Not that that's the point. Making the point, you guys. This is the Ruffle edit by Casey Apple, Youngfolk Knits. It is, as in the Laura Allison party, Jaunty June, and I mean, it doesn't get more jaunty than this little number. I love it. This I made out of yarn that was in my stash. I had hand dyed it at a retreat a couple years ago using Madder, Madder, and it's a Kelborn Woolens base, I guess. Is this Scout, maybe? So yeah, it's really nice and cozy. I have to say, Tashi, what is their YouTube? I think their name's Stitches and Starlight. They were talking about this pattern and how the ruffle kind of did them in. And I have to agree. I mean, it was fine, but it took a long time because you're basically putting double the amount of stitches on your needles, which is what creates the ruffle because it's so crammed in there. So in order to make it that cute, you're dealing with a ton of crammed in stitches, a few rows of that. And it's just, I think the psychology of like, I'm at the end, I'm up to the ruffle. And then suddenly you still have your work cut out for you with that little ruffle, but recommend. I mean, it's so cute. And the pattern itself is just really pretty. So yeah, this is more fall. It's a little warm for now, but I will definitely be wearing this in the fall. And I like the size. I did the smaller size, and it's nice to just, I have a lot of giant shawls, and I'll probably make more giant shawls in the future. I don't need everything to be a giant shawl. And then I have another, again, Jaunty June, the Holly Bandana, and I made this. This is from Suzanne Mueller, is the pattern. I wanted to try Wandering Flock Cotton Lino, so it's kind of all the rage. And I got this skein of citrine, which I love this color. got like a lemon lime situation happening here. And this is, I just really like it. It's a little pointelle number. Okay, how would I wear this? Two ways, I guess. Well, many ways. This, the Mr. Furley, it's kind of like, what's happening here? Let's get our Mr. Furley together. I think on the side. The mirror of this is just too much to bear for me. My head can't handle it. So, you know, or you could just do this straight in the middle. Or, I don't normally do this, but I feel like I could, like, basically schmatza style. Does everyone know about schmatzas? Or is it just like the Jersey, New York people that are either Jewish or grew up with a lot of Jewish friends? It's my Yiddish. You know, it's like your little house rag that you wear in your head. Yeah, it's cute. So yeah, I like the lemon lime situation. Cotton lino, really great, especially for, again, plant-based, super soft, and not hard to knit with. I don't think get really like a lot of pain from knitting with plant-based fibers that many people do. I just don't enjoy it as much as wool, and I get a little sick of using tinier needles, which usually tends to be the case with plant-based fibers, but this was a good one. And then my last FO, which I haven't blocked yet, I want to block it and maybe get another inch out of it, is the Lulu Slipover. I love this. I really love it. I'm glad I powered through. I had done the back like a year ago and put it away because I was like, that's enough back and forth knitting for me for apparently a year. But then my friend Jen was working on one. My friend Caitlin finished one. And so that was the motivation I needed. And it's great. Like, there's a lot to it. I've talked about this before, so I won't get so super into it. But, you know, by the time you do all this ribbing and there's double knitting on these sides here, and then you got to put it in the buttons. But it's really super nice. And this is huge, so you can just like wear it over a t-shirt. Super easy to wear. And these buttons a friend had given me that I think are very cool. Just kind of like, I don't know what they are. But they look very cool. So yeah, I'm happy about this one. Like I said, I'm going to block it and maybe try and get like another inch out of the length. But if not, that's fine too. I just was hoping it'd be a tiny bit longer, but that's okay. And maybe the collar a tiny bit looser, but it works as is. It's a tubular bind off, which I did a tiny bit too tight. That's why, but I'm not pulling that out. It gets over my neck. It's fine. There's tubular bind offs everywhere, which I don't mind. I think they look so good and they're worth it. Like you, they're worth it. Okay, now whips. Let's get our whip life together real quick. Okay, the first whip that I have is another Tori Yu. I had this yarn. It's from Apothofaery. They're awesome. I think I've talked about their fiber before. I just seen them at YarnCon in Chicago, and they're great. This is a merino linen high twist single, I believe, and the color I have is Grotto, and I am making the Avenue tank. So far, this is all I have. So it's not much of anything, but it's gonna be nice. It's super soft. You know, size 3 needles. I think it might take a bit to do this, but it's a tank top. So I'm doing the size 2, and this brings me to a topic I wanted to bring up, which is my hot take, and it's slightly controversial because I'm about to disagree with, wait for it, Andrea Mowry. I'm not really, but kind of. So on her last podcast, somebody asked about something and she was talking about gauge, and her advice was to follow the gauge in the pattern. Now, that makes sense for Andrea Mary to say that, or any designer to say that, because they are designing for the entire population who wants to do this pattern, which is wild, and I would never want to be a designer. So it makes sense, because if you knitted a different gauge and then you have some fucked up looking thing and you don't want to blame Andrea for it, she doesn't want you to blame her for it, because you shouldn't, but you might, because people are annoying that way. So it's like, stick to the gauge and you'll get the size that I intend for you to get. Now, that's true, I guess. But my thing is, don't be afraid of some math. I just knit what I want to knit. I knew I liked this yarn, and I thought that would be nice in a summer tank top. And I didn't even look at the gauge in the pattern. I just knit a swatch. I figured out what my gauge was. And say, let's, for the sake of math, easy math, my gauge was 5 stitches for an inch, and I want a 40-inch as my like bust circumference that I want with whatever ease. So that would be 200 stitches. 5 times 40, 200 stitches. Then I look at the widest in the pattern, for the part of the pattern that has the widest amount, right? And I look for a size that has something close to 200. Now, if there's something close to 200, I pick that size. And in this case, there was. I don't remember. This wasn't the same numbers, but it was something within like 5 stitches. And I'm like, I'm okay being within an inch of my intended ease. If not, I would probably just, especially this pattern, there's no color work. I would just knit the number that's going to work out to what I want. In fact, I think that's what I did. It might not have been exactly. So I have, if my number worked out to 207 and the pattern there's 209, I probably just would cast on whatever. Like at that point, increase to 207 instead of 209. If there was nothing, then I do the math. Now that can be complicated, and that's why you probably, I'm swear I'm not like hired by Allyson Dykhuisen, but you should take a class with her, because the skills are very transferable. It's super fun to take multiple classes because other people are making the same thing and you make friends and it's great. But she has these awesome spreadsheets that you can use, and now I just know how to do it and I can think it through. And it makes sweaters that fit you exactly like you want them to fit. We were talking about the Paul Klee sweater. That sweater, if you look at Ravelry, there's a lot of like, they look great and maybe the people wanted them, but they're kind of big. It's hard to get that sweater to fit right. I'm telling you, if you look through Ravelry and you find sweaters of Paul Klee that look like they fit well, chances are in the notes you'll say, I took a class with Allyson Dykhuisen. That sweater is hard to figure out, and she's nailed it. So anyway, but it's freeing because then you don't have to be tied to, I love this yarn, I like that pattern. I, as a creative person with my own mind, think that this yarn would look good at that pattern. Maybe it wasn't the designer's intention, but that's cool. You can have a different opinion. And then you can just freaking make it with some math. And I gotta say, this girl math shit, fuck it. Math. How about that? We can all use gender neutral math because it's great. You know how we don't know what the hell's going on in the world ever? Like climate change, our fucked up government. You know what you can count on? Math. It just makes sense. There's one way to get there, and you get there, and it makes sense. I'm telling you, math is our friend. And that's my rant. But all this to say, doesn't this look amazing? It's like perfectly sized for me, and my point is proven. So that's that. Okay, now I really sound like a fucking evangelist because this is another Allyson class. The Nougat. Again, jaunty June. The Laura Allyson party, we're making jaunty little scarves and kerchiefs and stuff in June. The Nougat is a pattern using intarsia. So this was just a 3-time class, taking us through this pattern, and I learned so much because I had never done intarsia. One thing I learned is I don't really want to do intarsia, but okay, this is pretty, right? Now, if you're not a knitter, you might just say, you've made more complicated shit than that. Like, it's just squares. What is the big deal? Oh, my friend. Okay, so just for those not in the know on intarsia, this is so if you just knit like color work, say you have like 3 colors in a row, you can drop one color, pick up the next, and then maybe you don't use that color for like 5 stitches, so you could just pick it up again. If you don't use it for like 8 stitches, maybe at stitch 5 you twist it and carry it along, you carry a float, right, and then pick it up again. In this pattern, if you did that, there would be like an entire sheet of all your floats, and it would be a giant mess. Or like in a sweater where there's like a solid design here, you couldn't do it. You would just have, you would like say a white sweater with like a red chicken. Chickens are trendy. You would have all of this white yarn that would just be a giant like strip of fabric in the back, and then you'd have to carry that red the entire way around until you needed it for this much, right? That doesn't make sense. So you have a ball of red that you only pick up when you work on your chicken, and then your white you pick up when you're not working on your chicken. So enough with chickens. We're back to this. So in this, you have balls for each color. But this is a cool project to start intarsia because you have one mane. Mine is Camper-Oatmeal Heather, Kelbourne Woolens. My mohair is a bunch of different ones. There's Knitting for Olive is the green and yellow. The red is Kelbourne Woolens Harmony, and the pink is Odang. So that's a suri. So it's all over. I just stuff in my stash. So you have these like balls of things hanging off. I have put mine on like embroidery floss things, and I am doing sort of a combo of intarsia and carrying floats. So in this pet, I'm the only one in class because everyone else actually follows directions and has more patience than I do. So the real way to do it would be to have like, this has 10 squares in this row, 10 little things hanging off. You don't have to put them on floss. A lot of people in class are just pulling like what they determine is how much yarn they need for one square, and then you just let that drop. The problem with mohair is it's like if you combined like a feather, a cloud, and a whisper, it's just like continually floating in the breeze and making me nuts. Hence my little flossy things. So when I get to like this section of like green and yellow, I'm carrying the floats. So I have a green. I only have one little floss for each color on a row because I carry a float across. Now, part of that reason I'm doing that is I don't mind to have the extra layer of mohair in the back. This to me is going to be like a fall item. You don't want to do that if you don't want it to be thicker and fuzzier. That's why you would use the 10 separate for the row, right? All this to say, it takes a while. And I was saying in class that I think of this not even as knitting, it's like a special additional type of craft because the knitting feels very minimal, and second to managing my little flosses because you're constantly untangling this shit. I think it would be, we talked in class today how an actual sweater with like one thing of intarsia, 2 colors, it looks like more daunting in a way because this is small and cute. But that would be easier because you're only dealing with 2 different hanging balls. And you're used to that, aren't you, girl? Sorry. The key to comedy is making yourself laugh. And I'm good at that. All right. So this is my Nougat. And the other thing about this is, once again, the pattern is a pretty big shawl. I get the idea. I'm getting better at it. I don't need to do this forever. it's kind of maddening. B, as I mentioned, I didn't want another giant shawl. So this was a size of a shawl that I have. I'm making this to a size of another shawl I measured that I like the length of. So I made it to the middle. So now I get to start decreasing, which is very exciting. And I don't know that this will block much bigger than it is. So I'm kind of just counting on the length that it is. I'll try and block it a little bigger, but if it doesn't, that's fine too. It'll fit me. Just need it to wrap around with a little bit of a extra bit. But it's fun. You know, I've been knitting for, I don't know, 7 years, 6 years. And this is something I've never done before. And it was really fun to learn something new. And yeah, I know Allison's teaching another of these classes in August. So it's a fun way to learn Intarsia if you haven't, because even as tedious as it can be, it doesn't take you that long to get through a scarf. And you can make it smaller if you like want to make it smaller than the pattern. So that's that. My other whip is pretty thrilling. Well, relatively speaking. So this is my first sweater that I'm making out of hand spun yarn. And so I had talked about this before. So a little background. It was with Nest Fibers Club Colors. Like I was in their monthly, you get 4-ounce braid. And I had it, but they're really pretty. I love the actual yarn fiber. It's fun to spin with. But there was a lot more pinks than I'm like usually into. But I was like, why don't I just put them all together and make just this combo thing? So that's what I did. I've talked about in another video. So here's an example of a nest that I haven't spun it all. I made all these nests and I spun some of them. I have like 3 skeins of yarn that's totally done. Then I'm gonna just keep working on little spinning, little knitting, whatever. So this was the unspun. And I also got this solid color from Yarn Jam Honey that I've added to it to sort of try and make something a little cohesive. So I'm making the Traveler Hoodie by Andrea Mowry. And like this is the skein that's spun up. This one is very blue. It's all over the place. There's orange, there's pink, there's blue, there's brown. And so far, this is what I have. Can we see? Yeah, I guess you can see. So at first, it was like, there's like barber poling, you know, that, again, if you're not into knitting and you happen to be watching this, one of my friends from guitar or something, you know, it's like a barber pole, that's what they call it. So 2 different colors are just twisted up. The entire skein is like that. So once in a while that honey comes together and it's like just solid, but for the most part it's a lot. So I was like, is this too chaotic? Like, is this like a fever dream at the circus? And then as I looked at it, I'm like, this is a fever dream at the circus. I'm into it. But I did decide that I'm just going to I have some of the honey unspun solid. I'm going to spin that just with itself and make the cuffs, the bottom ribbing, and the casing for the pulley thing. I can't think of the word. Drawstring. Just that solid honey color. So I think that might chill it out just a touch, but this fabric it makes, everyone's like talked about it because there's Andrea Mowry has like a cowl, a crew neck sweater. She has a bunch of different stuff using this texture, and it's so comfy. It's going to be great. It's just 3 knits and 2 purls is the main texture of it, but the size and it looks cute. She just has it. Oh, the other thing I did, which is my go-to, it's a bottom-up sweater. And there's, you know, reasons for doing that. But the problem with that is then you can't try it on. My solution for that, it's not my solution, it's plenty of people's solutions, is to do a provisional cast on. And then this way I knit the sweater as intended from here. And then at the end I go back, and if it's not long enough, I can add a little and do the ribbing. This way I can try it on at that point. The other good point, a part of that method is if I'm running low on yarn, I can make decisions. I'm already not going to do the ribbing and cuffs So that's one decision you might make. Like, I'm running out. I'm going to do the cuffs a different color. Or I guess I'll just crop it. This is a pretty cropped. The pattern is super cropped. You just knit 7 inches up and then you just rib and do 7 inches. That's more cropped than I want it to be. I'm going to probably knit 8 inches and then we'll see where that gets me. And then at the end, when I try it on, I won't be surprised if I want to knit another inch of it to make it 9 and then have like 2 inches of ribbing and 11. Because normally I go for like 12 to 13. So we'll see. But it's it's like I'm going to have about 10 inches of ease, positive ease. So with a bigger sweater, I think it looks cuter cropped than having it be long and just look like a weird tent. I mean, this is already a lot of pattern of busyness. I don't need it to be massively huge. So anyway, it's super fun. I'm addicted. This was 1 skein's worth. So, and I have 2 more already wound up. So like I said, I'll just go back and forth between knitting and spinning, and see where that gets me. It's really fun. And then, let's see. Oh, well, the other one, I have yet another spin for a sweater, which I've talked about, was Freya the sheep, the Shetland from Michigan. Bought her off Etsy and processed her, cleaned her, picked, carded, spun. So I have all the spun yarn, and then my friend Kristen was in town from San Francisco, and we had a dye day, and I dyed all of this. Well, she helped me with fustic, which is some sort of tree in the mulberry family, I believe I learned. And so it's this cool yellowy color, yellowy brown, as my boyfriend said. Looks like straw. Yeah, I guess it does. So I'm going to make the lakes pullover with this. A bunch of people in the party are doing this starting in July as just like a casual knit along the lakes. So I'm going to start it then. And yeah, that's my goal, is I have what I hope is enough yarn. There's a lot, so I think I'm good. And again, maybe she'll be cropped if I need her to be cropped, but I think it'll be fine. So that's my girl Freya. I'm really excited about that. The yarn itself is really nice. It's rustic but not itchy at all. I wasn't sure what Shetland was going to be like, but I really like it. She's going to be perfect winter sweater, fall and winter. Okay, let's check in on my other nonsense. Okay, in other crafty news, I have a couple FOs from sewing, I realized. One is, a very generous friend gave me some fabric, a bunch of really nice fabric. So I have a bunch of plans for that, and I made these Yanta overalls, the shorts version. Boop, boop. I had made the regular long overalls several years ago, and I love them. And so, yeah, I made these shorts out of, it's like a lightweight, stretchy denim. So I recommend this pattern. It's easy to follow, well written, and I am excited to wear these little guys. And then I was influenced by Andrea Mowry's Thanks I Made It, where she kept talking about, but she often wears these summer camisole tank tops by Paradise Patterns under her clothes, and I was intrigued. I had not done a ton of sewing with knits, partially because I had done some of it and it was kind of tricky. The fabric was like kind of all over the place. But I've had a serger, like over a year ago I bought one. A nice affordable serger. And it was one of these things that it was just sitting there staring at me being like, you might want to learn how to use me. And I was like, that seems like a lot. There's a lot of threads. I don't know. And I gotta say, I found a YouTube video, looked up this specific serger. This one was great. She had this serger, talked through how to thread it. And because I took out, it comes with these little tiny things of colorful yarn. I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with that. And I wanted to learn how to actually thread it, because some people were like, just tie your yarn to that yarn and it'll thread itself. And I'm like, I kind of want to know how to do this myself. So it was great. She was super helpful, and I threaded it. And then I was like, an instant convert. And it made, I mean, it's like, I don't need to belabor the reveal. It just looks like a tank top. But it's got a little, built-in bra thing. And it fits great. I am so excited because I'm going to totally make more of these. In fact, I made a batch. This was my first attempt at batch sewing, where you cut out fabric for more than one. I just did the two, and then you're doing step by step. So sew the sides, sew the sides. It's kind of nice. But for this one, I was like, maybe I tried it on. It was good. And I was like, maybe for the next one, I'll make the straps a little shorter. And I did, and they're too short. So I need to take those out and just cut. I have more fabric. It's like a sage green of the same exact fabric, and just redo these little loopies so they're a little bit longer, because it's going to annoy my armpits if I wear it like that. But this thing is great. It was funny because this is no judgment, even though it's going to sound judgmenty. It just made me laugh. The YouTube woman, I was like, oh, she's great at describing this. Let me go to her channel. Maybe she has other sewing videos. It was like a lot of like her slowly doing stuff around her house, like, so, influencer vibes. So I clicked on one just to see. And before I even watched much of it, the first comment was all capitals, I love Jesus too. We're sisters in Christ. And I was like, you know what? I had enough of that in my high school youth group. I don't need to revisit being a sister in Christ. So Godspeed. I probably won't follow her. But fantastic ability to explain how to thread my serger. I'm forever grateful. And this is fantastic. And I also have the pattern for Paradise Patterns. I think it's the Blom. Is that right? It's another simple, like, sort of haltery cut tank top. So I need to get some more knit fabric, and I want to make that too, now that I can serge. Again, if you're not super into sewing, the serger is what makes like this profesh looking edge. This podcast isn't a podcast unless we have a mic drop. Okay, I think we've all learned that. So anyway, the serged edge. Now, I have more to say about this, because before I used a serger, I just was like, well, that looks nice, but that's inside my clothes, and I don't have time for all that. I don't care what the inside of my clothes looks like. And then, you get better at something and you're like, maybe I do care. But I also realize now that, yes, it looks nice, but it makes it so much easier to sew knit fabric, because it stabilizes the end. So then it's so fun because it cuts, there's a knife option. So if you do that, it cuts off the end. It makes it super clean. So then your end is like so nice and professional. But then the nice part about that too is then when you go, like for this, serge the end, fold it over to hem it, and now this has more weight and it's stabilized it. So it just is easy to move through my machine and follow, versus if this is all just wiggly, lightweight knit, when you go to sew it, you have to clip it a million times, otherwise it's just shooting out in every direction, and it's kind of annoying. So that is the benefit of the serger, especially when sewing knits. I'm a total convert. And the threading of it wasn't nearly as bad. It was weird. I would have never figured it out on my own. It's not obvious unless you follow some kind of tutorial. But once you follow the tutorial, it wasn't hard. I will always have to refer to a tutorial, though, I think. Maybe not, but I got my Christian lady bookmarked, so I'm gonna always go back to her. Praise Jesus for that, and for this little top. It's great. Okay, and then I have spinning. knitting FO. Wound up fiber arts. I had made those I am making shorty socks. I'm on the second sock, working on a heel flap. Put it on pause because I ordered another shorty cable because I decided I don't want to do magic loop, but I am intrigued by the people that just use 2 cables to knit socks. So I stopped in the middle because I was like, this is irritating me. And I'm just going to get the second cable. And I think it's supposed to arrive tomorrow. So I think that will be a game changer. All that to say, I like the socks a lot though. And this wound up fiber arts sock fiber is freaking amazing. So I got some more, and this is spring flowers. I feel like it looks like spring flowers. And my goal was to try and knit it, spin it a little thinner so I can get fingering weight. And I think I did that. So at some point, I'm not casting this on super soon, I don't think. At some point, I'm just going to make another pair of socks. Maybe something with a little texture in it. Probably a Summerlee. I have some of her patterns already that I haven't done. So probably do one of those. And I'm just really happy with this finished spin. The colors are great. And I'm excited that I was able to get a little more consistent. It turns out, if you practice at something, sometimes you get better at it. So annoying. I should apply that to guitar. Okay, and the other thing, spin-wise, this leads into tour de fleece. I don't actually really know what it is. I just know the phrase and see people on the internet talking about it. Or I guess it's so simple that I do know what it is. I've never done it before because I've only been spinning since this year. But during the Tour de France, which starts on July 4th, goes through the end of July, there's like the spinning community. There's a bunch of people that do Tour de Fleece, and they spin every day that the cyclists are cycling. So there's 2 rest days. And, it's just a way to connect and do whatever. It's kind of fun. So it's like, oh, what are your goals for Tour de Fleece? So I'm going to do it. I feel like it's not hard for me to find some time to spin a little bit every day. So my 2 things that I want to work on, I already started, but I have this Traveler's hoodie that there's plenty more of that to spin. And then I want to do a night and day cowl by Andrea Mowry. No, I do, but that was a different project. I want to do the Signa shawl. The Table 10 ladies are doing that and introduced me to that pattern. I love it. It's really pretty mosaic knitting. I love mosaic knitting. And I am not going to make it as big. That's my theme, but it'll be bigger than these little jaunties. But the pattern's really big. I'm just going to see how much fiber I spin, split it in half, and make it as big as half as that. So I'm using the stash I had, Ridge Sport Utopia, which is really nice, and I wanted to put it to use. I had plans to use it for my Inga sweater, and then I didn't love the color combo. So I've had this, and I am spinning Yarn Jam Lake Cottage Confetti Tweed, which is this stuff. And so I'm going to hold that together, and I think it's going to be a real pretty number. So I did 1 bobbin full. So yeah, I think this will look cool together. It's a lot of dark blues and turquoise and some gray. So that's going to be the night and day cowl, which I've been admiring people's, and I'm excited. It looks like super engaging pattern repeat too, beyond being a pretty finished product. And then that's the Signa. Oh my Lord. Signa shawl. Night and day cowl. Night and day cowl. I have what Andrea used in her pattern is Harrisville Designs nightshades. I've used the daylights. It's like a black yarn that they mix with other colors. This one is like supposed to be browns. Honestly, it looks mostly black to me, which is fine. I like it a lot, and this yarn is so awesome to knit with. And then I'm going to spin these two things that I got. This one in a monthly club, French vanilla from, or maybe not, it's Three Waters Farms, French vanilla. It's more peach than is showing up here. Peachy pink. And then this golden hour from Yarn Jam. So I'm going to apply these two together and then use it with this. I think that'll look cool. That's the night and day cowl. And then what else do I have? I am starting my Moby Vest class with Laura McDougall-Long tonight. And this is the Highland yarn in Jade. I think maybe I talked about this before. So I'm excited to start that. That little vest is so pretty. Cable pattern. I think that'll be great in the old wardrobe and fun to knit. I really like knitting cables. Without a cable needle, it's not really hard, especially with yarn like this. Toothy, as they say in the biz. I think this will be great to knit, to cable with. So that's that. That might bring me to my brand new hobby that I started yesterday. So here's the situation. I don't know why. I remember how that he's still on shows. The Situation from Jersey Shore. A person, a human being, calls themselves The Situation. We have been through so much as a society over the years, haven't we? And then I think did he get arrested because he got in a fight with his brother at the tanning salon that they own? Is that the most New Jersey arrest situation ever? Anyway, I hope he's doing better. Here's the situation. So, watercolor. It's been having its moment, well, for centuries, but on Instagram more recently and among some of my friends. And I had a little watercolor set with like this book I got over a year ago. And I tried, like, it has like drawings in it and then you can try and do the drawing. So I did that and I did one forever ago. And I was like, oh, that was pretty fun. But I never did it again. And then I kind of wanted to as I see more and more friends and people online. And then yesterday was Father's Day. And it was my first Father's Day without my dad around. And so he had gotten into a painting phase before I came on the scene. But we had paintings that he had done in our basement for years. And he had taken classes, I don't know, forever ago. And I had just thought about that recently. I'm like, that's interesting. Like, my dad was such like a logical math banking kind of guy. And, but he had this, he loved theater and classical music and all kinds of like arts. My parents were very much, into making sure we were into going to see live arts, which is cool. And he took up painting at some point as a hobby, which I was like, oh, that's cool. So I was like, oh, it's Father's Day. Maybe I should get back to trying watercolor. And then I watched Needles at the Ready, the podcast. Kevin and Ray are just a great duo. They crack me up and are just seem like kind, lovely people. And Kevin has been super into watercolors because he hurt his foot and has been laid up on the couch and took up watercolor. And he's so good. He only did it for like 12 days. And I'm like, this stuff is amazing. So that totally inspired me. I follow him on Instagram now to appreciate all his watercolors. So then I looked around for tutorials and I found this woman who I love, Ellen Creamy Trent. She's on YouTube. I'll link her. She has like a nice New York accent. I don't know if she's from New York. And she just describes things so well. And so I made this little guy and I love it. So yeah, I'm totally addicted. This was my first one, but this one I made today and I was so happy with it. But I made this one too yesterday. That was my first one. Both from Ellen's tutorials. And like there's some others that I have like saved that I want to work on from her. And there's plenty of other people that do tutorials that seem great. But yeah, I'm starting with Ellen. I like her vibe and now I kind of know the drill a little bit. But his was fun. She was like, oh, now do this splatter technique. It just adds a little, as Ellen says, energy to the picture, and I thought, and I was so, there's that algae reflecting pool green again. I'm into it. So this was fun. I recommend. I feel like part of why I like fiber arts is the colors, and you just get to mess around with colors. And I don't know. I think it's pretty forgiving. At first, I was kind of scared, but A, you can just pat things out with a paper towel real quick. B, you're like, oh, I want it to be more yellow, not orange. Whatever. I like orange. So I think that attitude helps. It's like, who cares if this turned out more brick red than cherry red? I mean, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I recommend watercolors. Super fun. That's just what I needed. Another hobby. You know, if there is a God, I might get a job soon. There's a potentially likely opportunity, which I would love. But all of this nonsense is probably going to take a hit. We'll see. So anyway, reading. Okay, so friends of my book club and I were discussing how we've read a couple books lately. Read the names, and I found it meh. I know it was very well received by many, but I found, I think maybe I talked about it in the last one. And then I read Frozen River. A lot of people love that one. I found it meh. I just felt very all plot driven. I was bored. I got into it in like the first quarter, and then I was like, this is just boring. And it's just plot after plot after plot. And I want character development. And so I just skimmed the last third. Life is too short for me to plod through books I'm not enjoying. Now I'm reading Ann Patchett's new book, and I thought, Ann never disappoints me personally. And let's try this. And guess what? She's not disappointing. The Whistler, or just Whistler. I love it. It's exactly what I was looking for. A simple story and amazing character development. Quality, talented writer. All it is so far, Anne and her husband are at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, run into a guy that was the main character's stepfather for a year when she was young, and they reconnect. That's it. I'm sure it's going to get more complicated than that, but right now, I'm entirely addicted to this book, and that's really all that we got going on, because the writing is so good. And these people are fully formed humans, and it's great. So that's that. What am I watching? Boyfriend and I just started. My boyfriend and I don't call him boyfriend. That's so gross. My partner started Death by Lightning. I kept coming up. I think it's on Netflix. Been recommended to me. Some friends had seen it. It's about the assassination. It's historical fiction based on the assassination of President Garfield. Matthew McFadden from Succession is in it, and Michael Shannon's in it, and the acting's great. And one episode in, it's only 4 episodes. Hooked. Great acting. Really like it. Again, I had watched some, I don't know what we tried to watch, like The Night Agent, and I was like, turn it off. This is such crap. The acting was terrible. And I mean, obviously I like shitty TV, but like, I'd rather have shitty reality TV than bad acting. So that's something about me. And since we're on to shitty reality TV, well, Rhode Island Housewives did not disappoint. You were never homeless. Just still, they wrapped that up, but now I have to watch the reunions. And then now I'm fully into Love Island. That just a great part of the summer when you can catch up with whatever these fools on Love Island are doing. I am many episodes behind. It comes out every friggin' day except for Wednesdays, so I mean it's a little bit hard to keep up. I should keep up so I can do some voting, but I really enjoy it. The thing that a friend and I were discussing, because there is a cash award at the end for the couple that's last to the end, I think some of these people hang on when they really would have broken up because they want to last to the end. So you've got these bombshells entering the villa that have no chance because these fools that coupled up in the beginning are just going to stick together no matter what. I'm looking at you, Sincere, and what's your name, Melanie? That guy is so gross. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not fully caught up, but I like Casey. I think other people start to hate him or something. I don't know. I'll eat my hand knit hat if I hate Casey in the end of this. Zach, I loved everything about Zach going for his bestie's girl. That whole situation was so dumb, and I loved everything and the way everyone involved handled it. I'm really pulling for the bromance between Zach and no, Bryce. I'm sorry. Bryce was the one. Zach is his bestie. I'm pulling for their bromance above any of these couples. It cracks me up. So that's Love Island. And I think that's it. What else? I'm going to Rhinebeck. I've never been to Rhinebeck, but my friends are going to Rhinebeck, so I'm going to Rhinebeck. I'm excited. Rhinebeck, for those not aware, is the New York Sheep and Wool Festival in October, and it's like this psycho mecca for the knitting community. I mean, people talk about it all the time. It's a whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, there's, it's a sheep and wool festival, but it's like truly thousands and thousands of people go to it. So it could be a little wild, but it's going to be super fun to see friends. Local and not so local, because I know several people going. It's going to be really fun. And then, there's a whole thing like, you're not Rhinebeck sweaters. Mine are just all these hand spun things that I'm working on. It's like October is a nice goal to have those done by. And if not, I mean, there's Pee-wee. He's coming with me for sure. So yeah, that's it. I hope everyone is having a nice, what is now officially summer, and please subscribe if you haven't already. It's fun to see, and comment below. Come on now. It's just fun to know that somebody's actually watched this goofy shit. So yeah, hope everyone's doing well, and I'll see y'all soon. Okay, bye.